Hello and welcome to Business Now. Malcolm Sime. We are supported by Absa Bank. Let's first see what is on offer. Absa Bank, play your cards right. The campaign has put 200 million Uganda shillings on the table to reward you, its customer, for using the debit and credit cards. The initiative is designed to boost your digital payment experience with monthly cash prizes of up to 10 million Uganda shillings for both personal and business clients. Okay, that's Absa Bank. Your story matters. In this week's edition of Business Now, we sit down with Jeff Gable, the head of research at Absa Bank and is an economist, for an in-depth conversation on Uganda's economic outlook and financial markets, fresh from Absa's latest campaign. And in segment 1, we take you inside a fruit processing factory in Chira municipality run by a young businesswoman, where we explore the challenges and opportunities of adding value to Uganda's agricultural products. Also on the show, the Nssf financial results. We speak to the managing director, Patrick Ayota, and I asked him for how he spends your money and investing your contributions at the Provident Fund.
The economy should grow somewhere in the mid-sixes this year, maybe even a little bit stronger in calendar 2026.
So we grew from 22 trillion shilling fund at June 2024 to 26 trillion shilling fund. That's 4 trillion shilling growth, 17% growth in an economy that grew by 6.4%.
But first, let's have a quick look at some of the big stories making headlines across the globe and how they impact African markets. Cape Town will be home to Africa Oil Week starting this week. This will be one of the continent's biggest gatherings in oil and gas sector. Given global energy transitions and debates over fossil fuels versus renewables, this week could see major announcements in investment, policy and partnership in energy, particularly for producing countries, and how it will impact our markets, because announcements of new oil and gas deals, partnerships or financing could lift energy-linked stocks in producing nations, Nigeria, Angola, Ghana, and not forgetting Uganda. However, with global investors increasingly scrutinizing fossil fuel exposure, the balance between hydrocarbons and renewables could shape capital flows. Expect volatility in oil-reliant countries, according to experts, depending on sentiment. And let's talk e-mobility now, because the update is Uganda's Chira Motors host Uganda's second national e-mobility expo in Jinja on the 18th to 19th this month, showcasing electric vehicle technology and clean transport solutions. So the two-day event themed Powering Innovation, Accelerating Industrialization and Shaping Africa's Green Future comes as Uganda pushes to position itself as a regional hub for sustainable mobility. Last year's inaugural expo drew more than 3,000 participants from across East Africa. This is Business Now. On our CEO segment this week, we talk Uganda's economy, which is projected to remain resilient and accelerate in the fiscal year 2025 and 2026. And we're talking about July 2025 and June 2026. Driven by primarily the anticipated start of the commercial oil production, increased foreign direct investment in extractives, robust agriculture output, among others. I spoke to visiting Absa Bank economist and head of research Jeff Gable on the sidelines of a media briefing at the Serena Hotel on what this means as the country's real GDP growth is also forecast to touch 6 to 7% for the year, with nominal GDP reaching approximately 251 to 254 trillion shillings, about 66 to 68 billion US dollars, up from the financial year 2024-25. Estimates government put at 6.3.
So our own forecasts as Absa Research are that the economy should grow somewhere in the mid-sixes this year, maybe even a little bit stronger in calendar 2026. And then we look further out in the forecast, we end up with oil production starting in size, and you end up with growth rates that are stronger still. So that's, frankly, it's quite a comfortable place to be in. It's growing faster than Kenya. It's growing about as fast or maybe even slightly faster than Tanzania. It's growing much faster than the African average. So I think Ugandans should be quite pleased about that as a starting point. Does that mean we should rest on our heels? Absolutely not. What we want is more economic growth in this space. So things like Vision 2040, things like the Tenfold program, all of this are sort of rallying cries, identifying areas where a country like Uganda can do even better. So we're really pleased with a superb coffee crop in the most recent year and prices that just make us feel like we're in a dream world. But the broader plan has to be to generate not just more from coffee, but to take this tremendous agricultural environment in Uganda and turn it into even more food production, even more agro-processing, even more opportunities to export. And that's just one of the areas that Uganda can do even better going forward.
Have you ever heard of a situation, at least with your experience, where a currency is stable but does not have impressive value, at least according to those holding it in their hands? What does that mean?
So this is, by impressive value, this is the discussion that when I was young, I remember what I could buy for 500 shillings and it now costs in that sort of space. I mean, that's a reflection we see in many parts of the world. So the official inflation rate right now in Uganda is just under 4%. Within that space, we know that some items are moving more rapidly than others. Food price inflation is back above the average, so it's back into the fours now, and that's one of the things that people face most freely. You're going to the supermarket every day or to the trader every 2 days. In that space, your sense of just what can be bought with 1,000 shillings or 5,000 shillings, your sense will be always that it's under difficulty. But against other currencies, certainly shilling is holding its own. Our own expectation is that maybe there's some weakness just above 3600 to the dollar as we go into the end of the year. Part of that is seasonal, maybe part of that is a little bit of wait and see around elections. But as compared to our regional peers, been a very comfortable period. When we see data from the Bank of Uganda on credit, what we really want to focus on is credit to the private sector. Right? We don't want to be counting the money that is being lent to government. That isn't what helps drive business here in the country or in the region. And so what we're seeing in this space is that credit growth into the private sector is running at kind of 8 or 9%. You know, it's probably a little bit frustrating. If you want to build a business, you're looking for capital, you're looking for lending at modest rates and as much of it as you can grab. Credit growth of 8 or 9 is probably, I mean, it's enough to keep the country growing at 6%, but it's not going to be enough if we want the country to grow 7 or 8 or 9%. One of the biggest risks to macro stability across the region is public debt, and debt is just the sum of deficits going forward. So public finance is super important. The more debt that exists, right, the more pressure there is on government. If we think about in Uganda, we go back 10 years ago and think about what proportion of government revenues were being spent on things like salaries or on infrastructure or on health or education. All of those proportions have come down significantly. What's risen in their place, but we're now in a position where we're spending about 30% of all tax revenues just on servicing debt, not on providing public services or building infrastructure, just on servicing that debt itself. And so that's a real challenge. We've been quite lucky in Uganda. Not only did we have a good growing season, but because of other factors in the global economy, the price of coffee has just skyrocketed. Fabulous news for one of our key exports. Difficult if you're set elsewhere in the world and just want a cup with the morning newspaper, right? We've been very lucky because as we build a bigger gold sector in Uganda, the price of gold, of course, has gone from a year ago, it was barely $2,000 an ounce. Now it's $3,500 an ounce. So a lot of things are assisting us in that space. Doesn't mean everything in the global economy is working in our favor right now. Absolutely not. The amount of uncertainty that sits out there, we don't know what the next tweet from the White House is going to be. We don't know where the next impact is going to lie. That makes it more difficult for global business to make decisions. That makes it more difficult for global consumers to make decisions. And it also makes it more difficult for Ugandan businesses to make decisions. And those decisions that I'm talking about are investment decisions. Remember, if you don't make a decision to invest in your business today, to plan on making it bigger tomorrow, then you can't express surprise that it isn't bigger tomorrow. So what's happening globally does impact us here, though at least we're fortunate enough for that tailwind for things like coffee in particular.
The National Social Security Fund closed the 2024-2025 financial year on a strong footing, capping off its decade-long strategic plan with record growth in assets and revenues. And so the fund's assets under management surged 17.5% to 26 trillion shillings, up from 22.1 trillion shillings a year earlier, powered by rising number of contributions and a diversified income stream. According to the managing director, contributions climbed 10.4% to 2.13 trillion shillings, while total revenue advanced 11% to 3.52 trillion shillings, driven by high interest, real estate, and dividend income. I sat down with in an exclusive with Patrick Ayota, the fund's managing director, to tell me what's beyond the numbers. And here is our conversation.
Our members actually trust us. So if you tell me what has been the magic, people actually trust Nssf. We are humans, we make mistakes. But people actually do. When we measure our customer engagement rate at 88%, that is amazing. What has happened? They trust us with their money. So we grew from 22 trillion shilling fund at June 2024 to 26 trillion shilling fund at June 2025. That's 4 trillion shilling growth, 17% growth in an economy that grew by 6.4%. Now, so we have this strategy that we followed for the last 10 years. And I have to give Richard credit. Richard was part of this team. We laid down the foundations that make us work well, make us want to do things well, make us to go an extra length. And I think the beauty for us is we're doing it as Ugandans. And shows us as Ugandans, when we are determined, when we focus, we can do amazing things, because that's what has happened across. In November 2024, which is right around 9 months ago, we rolled out a voluntary program. Minimum amount to put in is 5,000 shillings. And within those 9 months, those numbers, the number of people who have same open accounts with us, 38,000 Ugandans. They've saved over 27 billion shillings in 9 months. And some are saving consistently as low as 5,000 shillings whenever they get a chance. I speak about this lady from a window market who within 4 months period has deposited over 200 times. She sends 5,000 in the morning, 5,000 in the afternoon, 5,000 in the evening, sometimes 10,000. But the consistency with it, she's done it, and the discipline she has had has been amazing. And that's the culture that we want to encourage. So when you look at, by diversifying, we moved into the regional markets correctly. Heavily vested in Kenya, in Tanzania, and slightly in Rwanda. So when you look at the movement, that means we're exposed to foreign currency movement. The shilling strengthened against all those three currencies. So we had a revaluation. We had to write down our asset because the shilling was stronger than the Kenya shilling. That was about a 247 billion shilling revaluation that we took. But on the other hand, the stock exchanges grew in all these markets. So we got a gain of 760 billion shillings. So net, by investing in this region, without considering the interest we got, without considering the dividends we got, just the gains from the market movements, by virtue being this market, the gain was about 500 billion shillings, which is good for the member. The mathematics is going to be minimal, whichever it is. First of all, the good thing is all the investments we made in Umeme, we recovered it through the dividends that we received. In fact, we got more by investing in Umeme than even what we had put in. I mean, the latest dividend we got from Umeme was 91 billion shillings. This came in June, actual cash that came through. However, we had that investment in Umeme because of uncertainty about the future of Umeme in terms of getting other contracts. We had to revalue it, we had to write it down, that investment down. So the numbers we present here has already reflected that conservative view we have about Umeme. So whatever comes out of that arbitration will be a plus, because we took the most conservative position and wrote down that asset in our book. So it's already reflected. That's why I say it would have minimal impact on the member. Our real estate rentals and things like that went from 12 billion shillings to 16 billion shillings from the previous year. So that was a growth in that. One of the things that I think we reported here, which was really good, was, do you know that in 1 year, we pretty much sold close to 200 homes in Lubowa? Actually, not 1 year. Between January 1 this year and now, we sold close to 100 homes in Lubowa. That's a period of 9 months. And tells you there's appetite for good quality homes. That's something we're very happy about. We are finishing Kimangalo. We think we'll begin the pre-sales, well, possibly around November, because most of the units will be done by then. So can be pre-sales, and as you know, that Kimangalo kind of supports our strategy of getting to affordable housing for Ugandans who can afford it. The Sentema Road is being worked on, so it's gone one of those areas that really, really nice to have. And this is organized communities. If you ever go to our properties, now you know you are living in a decent place.
Let's now delve into agriculture, because value addition is currently the most hotly debated topic in the country. We went out to find success stories, but also learned of how tough it is to do business in the face of tight taxation amidst competition with heavily capitalized foreign investors who also receive polite tax holidays. I visited a fruit processing factory in Kira municipality, where a young Ugandan businesswoman is adding value to the country's fruit.
Personally, I started out as a farmer, a fruit farmer in Luwero, and after trying to sell the fruits to multiple places, we realized that we're not making enough money. So we decided to add value. That is by extending the shelf life of these fruits. So in so doing, we came up with a juice product called Snap Juice. And yes, just like you can see it, we have the mango, we have pineapple, and we have mixed berries. So we process different fruits. We work with farmers, and when the fruits come in, we peel them and help them to make juice. We blend the juice, it goes to the blending tanks. This is a syrup melting tank, because we add sugar to bring back the sweetness, because we have to add water. Then we blend through all the pasteurizer, the chemicals to preserve. It goes through the blending tanks, and then we use a UHT sterilizer. This is it. We use all the water that we use here is treated through a reverse osmosis system and filtered. Yes, that is the water treatment. And then it goes to the blending tanks where it meets the pulped juice. Yes, blended, then sent to the UHT sterilizer. Oh, these are 2,000 liters per hour. So we can do 2,000 liters per hour.
How do you preserve the juice?
Yes.
All right.
So
tell me about your UHT technology.
UHT,
How does it help you to preserve it?
it literally kills every germ that can be in the juice, because we use actual fruits. So it could have any type of contaminants. It has to be heated to a very high temperature here. So you see it can go all the way to 200 degrees, but then we bring it back down. So it's ultra heated, and it's done in a very, very short time, like 15 seconds, it's in and out. So it heats it and cools it so fast. This helps us to prolong the shelf life. Right now our juice is at 6 months. If you are making it at home, it wouldn't even stay for 2 days. But here we pasteurize it, and it gives us a shelf life of 6 months. We stabilize it. We have what they call stabilizers to make sure that it does not, when you put it in a glass, it does not sink, and that's called stabilization. Yeah.
Down and then.
And then we pasteurize it.
Do you know some of your clients, you say, I can't take juice with preservatives?
In all honesty, having preservatives in juice is not bad as people assume. Yes, people think that every chemical is bad, but it's not. These are food-grade preservatives. But when you try to do, like with UHT sterilization, you eliminate some of those unwanted preservatives. So we end up using things like stabilizers, and then we pasteurize. It starts here. We make these bottles here in-house. And we have a team that just feeds the conveyor and it goes to bottling. Yeah. So in the bottles are washed, they are capped, and they are filled with nitrogen to extend the shelf life.
Really?
Yes. So it is washed, get nitrogen dosed, and then it's capped and it goes.
Wow.
We do production every day because we are in season with Ugandan fruits every day. If it is not mangoes, it is pineapples.
Okay.
Yes. And we get from different regions. We produce 5,000 cartons a day, but at full capacity. Currently, that's what we are producing, but we can produce 10,000 cartons at full capacity.
A day?
Yes, per day. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So we work with groups of farmers. They could be 100, they could be 10. We just register them and they supply us. These are from areas of Nakasongola, Ruwero, Asaka, Kayunga, and we intend to expand to the rest of Uganda. We are currently working with around 500 farmers that give us mostly pineapples and mangoes. We work mostly with women and youth farmers, and we try to give them a fair price on top of trainings on how to give us the best quality fruit. Now for like mangoes, we are using Senna mangoes and apple mangoes. That's what gives us the best quality juice. So our biggest expense is packaging. That is the bottles that we pack them in.
And that's the only problem that we have always had
Yes.
in this market.
That is our biggest. If we are selling the juice at 1,500, like 40% of our production cost is the package. Every bottle we put the digital stamp manually because we do not have the machine, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you surprised it is your...
Yes.
Okay, it was.
So this actually delays our process because we have to put every bottle manually. Among other challenges, we have the power challenge. We have planned outages, we have outages that happen when we're in production, and it will require us to use a generator, and that increases the production cost.
That's all we had for you on NTV Business Now, and thank you ever so much for watching. Before I leave, I want to leave you with this offer. Absa Bank, play your cards right. The campaign has up to 200 million Uganda shillings on the table to reward you, its customer, for using their debit and credit cards. So use it more. The initiative is designed to boost your digital payment experience and your platforms with monthly cash prizes of up to 10 million Uganda shillings for both personal and business clients. Okay, that's Absa Bank. Your story matters. And remember to hit the bells on our YouTube channel on NTV Uganda and follow me on at Malcolm Sime. And coming up next, we'll be going to the news at 9 p.m.